This is Matt in the ManCave, guys. It's Late Nights After Dark. Double fist bump to you, my friends. Tomorrow we're doing the knife drawing for what? For Patreon. So if you subscribed last month to Patreon or you've been supporting me on Patreon, tomorrow we're going to do that knife giveaway. And Trey has given this ultimate awesome knife, and it rocks. It rocks so hard. Guys, today we're going to be in Paul's writings. We're going to be in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 4. I want you to listen to this. I'm going to explain it. This is very interesting. Now, concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Paul right here comes out and he's saying that there's some individuals who have the gift of not having sex. I don't think that's a gift. Do you guys? And here's the thing. I've never met one of these cats, okay, that didn't want to fool around. But there are certain individuals, okay, who don't have the drive, that don't have the desire to fool around. And I'm like, well, what fun would that be? But think about this, okay? In some respects, it might be a gift, because a lot of the trouble that men and women get into these days is in that area of sexuality, meaning they're having sex before marriage, or they're married and it's boring and people aren't committed to the marriage and so they want to have sex outside of marriage, or they're lusting within their heart, which is fornication, which is adultery, okay? And so it is a gift, but I don't see it as a gift, okay? That's funny. You're like, Matt, where are you going today? Listen, I'm going somewhere, okay? Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. So Paul now is clarifying. He's saying it is a good thing if you desire to have sex, to have a wife, to have a husband. Friends, if you're not married, if you're young, if you're single, if you're dating, okay, this would be a verse, honestly, because the Bible says, bring to the throne room your desires, your wants, your needs, your longings. This would be the verse, honestly, one of them that I would bring to God if I was single. Okay, and it's verse 2, and let me just read it again. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and every woman have her own husband. God says in Hebrews to keep the marriage bed undefiled, okay? We want to keep our lives undefiled. It's easier, I'm just going to shoot straight, it's easier when you're married and you have an outlet, okay, for your desires, your longings, your wants, your needs, your fantasies, and you can share them with your wife. Your wife shares what she would like you to do, and there's this friendship. That's really what marriage is. It's a friendship. It's a cooperation, you know, and when you understand it like that, guys, that I'm hanging out with my best friend for life, the marriage is a dream. When you put God number one in your marriage, guess what? Your marriage is a dream. When you skip these steps, if God isn't in your life, your marriage is doomed to fail, because you can't give what you don't have, and that other person within the marriage, one spouse needs something, and sex isn't enough, okay? We can't give what we don't have, and we need, okay, as Christians, the love of God. As we receive the love of God, we give the love of God. And so if a person is a non-believer, most likely, there's not enough within the marriage to sustain it. As a Christian, listen very carefully, as a Christian, if you haven't made God number one in your life, you're going to have problems. Look, it's the trickle-down effect. You guys have heard this, okay? So if God isn't really preeminent in your life and you're not serving Him, you'll have problems in your marriage. You're going to have problems at work. You're going to have problems as what? As a father, okay, or raising your children. You're going to have problems across your life. It's designed that way in the Bible. Meaning if you get things out of priority, okay? And secondly, if you didn't marry your best friend, okay, and you were sleeping around and the sex was just great, you're going to have problems in your marriage. You absolutely are going to have problems in your marriage. And not that those things can't be worked through when you put God number one in your life, okay, and you straighten things out and you both get on the same page, which is God's page, okay, things will straighten out. But I yet have hit the text, the part where I want to share with you, okay? Listen very carefully, because you guys will like this, okay? Let every husband render unto his wife do benevolence, and likewise the wife unto the husband. Now, this is, much more than just, giving into sex. Sometimes it's one person wanting more sex than the other person, but that person, facilitating that. But it's not just sex. That word can also be defined as love, meaning throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the years, you're loving your wife, you're being tenderhearted, you're being a best friend, you're investing your life with her. It's just not, she wants to fool around, so I'm going to give in to fool around. And normally, again, in the marriage, one person wants more sex than the other person. Where are you going, Matt? Well, here's where I'm going. There's an individual who wrote me. He says, Matt, I watch the ManCave. I watch all the videos. They help me. I'm having a problem. What's your problem, bro? What's your problem, bro? Double fist bump. Well, the problem is they're not clicking in the bedroom. He wants to have sex, and his wife is kind of pushing back. He quotes this verse, do benevolence, meaning this. There has to be a partnership here, and it's just, and the word I like to use is servant lovers. We've gone over this text, but we're going to introduce a new aspect to this text. And I started asking a few questions, and here's what's going on. It goes back to last night's devotion. The wife never told the husband early on that she had problems. She was sexually assaulted when she was like 7 years old. Are you listening? And so those feelings, that event, that pain was inside. It was never dealt with. It was never given to God. It was never shared with her husband. There was no healing that was taking place. It was basically buried in the confines of her heart. She felt dirty, and she felt sex was dirty, and she viewed men, and she viewed sex as just something she had to get through. It wasn't something, to be enjoyed as God intended it. Again and again and again, when people are having problems in the bedroom, more times than not, something is facilitating it. It's a mindset, because this is a gift that God gives. God doesn't give crappy gifts. He gives wonderful gifts, With this lady, finally, I went to counseling, and the husband's just sitting there, and the wife starts opening up about what took place when she was a little girl. And the husband's like, oh, yeah, that would explain everything. And friends, it's not just a quick fix. Well, honey, you need to get over that. It's not like that, men. You have to, these things that happen to either men or women are traumatizing. And here's the thing. You may have not had anything happen to you, in this area where someone sexually abused you. But friends, I guarantee, I'd bet the farm that you know someone, but you might not even know what took place because people don't like to talk about it. It's like this hush-hush thing. And so now they have a tainted view of something that God gave that was a wonderful gift. Just read the Song of Solomon, all the juiciness in that thing, Solomon's taking the Shulamite's taking Solomon. They're under trees, they're in the vineyard, they're going to bed and breakfast, they're doing all these different things, They even throw out the word pomegranate. And I was like, why do they keep on mentioning pomegranate? Well, back in those days, pomegranate was a reference to an aphrodisiac, meaning this. It was just like telling your person, man, I'm in the mood to get it on with you. So we need to be understanding, and we need, watch this, to kind of dig a little bit deeper. Back to our text. I understand the text says, here's the thing, spiritually speaking, this is basically a guideline. This is what Paul is saying. I'm not speaking this as this is the law. Do this. It's not like that, guys. What servant lover is going to be like that? You're a jerk if you're like that. It's kind of give and take. If your wife is worn out, toss off. You'd be doing her a service. But I'm going somewhere with this. Oftentimes, if there's friction in the bedroom, sometimes there's an underlying cause. The man might not be aware of it, or the woman might not be aware of it, but something is going on. This, again, is an awesome thing that God's given. But if you're not clicking, and there's this tension, friends, there's normally what? Pain and unresolved issues. Submit those things to God. And you allow God to minister to you, and you talk through those things, you wouldn't believe how the path is cleared out. With the man that I'm talking about, this is what they did. They eventually found counseling. They eventually found healing. And it wasn't, again, in a week or a month. It took months upon months upon months of the husband having an understanding heart, the husband praying for his wife, praying together, and God bringing healing. Sometimes God delays. He could instantaneously heal you, but sometimes he uses time because he's teaching. He's not only meeting the need, but he's bringing a life lesson in there. And one of the life lessons that you and we just need to understand that sin, guys, God says the wages of sin is death, and we play around with sin like it's a cuddly new puppy. You know what I'm saying? Because we think, oh my goodness, this is so great. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? The unknown, the forbidden, the secret treasure, the honeypot, all these different things that Satan is trying to lure us in with. You know what Satan is? He's an advertising genius. Guys, for years, I was in sales, marketing, and advertising, and that's what I did. But man, in my best day, this is the truth, I wasn't as good as Satan. Satan continues to use the same tactics on people over and over and over again, and he wants to destroy your home. And one way he can do that is to have tension in the bedroom and us not understanding, us not having a loving and tender-hearted heart towards our spouse. You can't do that. When it says do benevolence, it's talking not only about the physical act of intimacy, but it's talking about an act of love, which is demonstrated day in, day out, year in, year out, all of your lives till death do you part. Do you hear what I'm saying? Like, Matt, really? Does the Bible say that? Well, look at verse 5. Let's close here, guys, because it's getting long. Defraud. Have you ever been defrauded where someone stole from you? Have you ever been ripped off? How did you feel when someone ripped you off? I know how I felt, you know what I'm saying? Let me not go into that, because I'd give you an earful and I'd be going off. I mean, isn't it crazy? We can forgive, we can forget, and we trust God with that, what took place, but still, sometimes it stirs up memories. But it says this, defraud. That's the word God is using. Defraud ye not one another, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, lest Satan tempt you for your inconsistency. Meaning this, you're not fooling around because there's something going on in the bedroom. Whether the man's mad at the wife or something, or the wife's mad at the man wasn't considerate and loving to the wife and he wants to fool around, the wife is pushing back, or again, there's something that took place sexually, some type of abuse, and now sex is viewed as dirty and evil and I just don't want to do it, or I'm shooting straight with you, men and women. Someone doesn't know what they're doing in the bedroom. And there's lots of Christian books about how to do what you do when you do what you do, okay? But if you suck in bed and it's all about you and you're not willing to give pleasure, receive pleasure, who wants to sleep with you? I mean, honestly, if it's just all one-sided and it's just about you getting off, really, I wouldn't want to sleep with you either. And I don't. Satan understands this, and listen very carefully. What it's saying is, don't deprive each other, because here's the thing. If you do, you're going to put your spouse in a position where they could be tempted in their imaginations. And then eventually, imaginations lead to bad decisions and choices, which lead to worse decisions, and sometimes people cheat, and they feel justified in cheating. God says you don't want to do that, okay? He says, here's the thing, the only time you should stop from fooling around and stop from becoming one is if you're in prayer and fasting. I've never met anyone, okay, that said, Matt, I'm not fooling around for a month because I'm in prayer and fasting. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Guys, more times than not, when a person is really in prayer over an issue in their life or a stronghold, okay, and they end up fasting, they don't give up sex. That's just an option that you can do. I can go into deep prayer because there's some huge decision. God says, Paul says, the only reason you should refrain from being together is, okay, if you decide that you really want to dig deep in prayer and fasting, but it's not something that you have to do. And then it uses these words, least Satan come along and tempt you, because Satan understands your body. He understands your mind. He understands you. Remember, he's a marketing genius, okay? And so when one person isn't giving due love, because you see, you have to love that other person and you have to show love, or they're not going to want to fool around. That's just how it is. If someone's mean to you all day and critical of you all day, do you really think they're going to flop in bed and open their legs and say, do me now? It's just not going to happen, guys, okay? I know you've been watching some garbage on the internet, but you shouldn't watch that because that's not real life and that's not scriptural. So God says, don't defraud each other. And if one person is defrauding each other, it's time to dig deeper. It's not time to be critical. It's not time to argue, because people argue about this the most. Okay, the only thing that beats arguing about sex, and I want sex, and I demand sex, and I long for sex, and a good wife would give me sex, or a good husband would give me sex, is money, 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 money. Those are the two things, and those are the two areas that Satan comes along, sneaks into your life, and tries to attack you in. Do you understand that? The two main areas is sex and money. God says this through Paul, and we are stopping here. Verse 7, I'm all over the place here, and I know it, but that's okay. Okay, we already went over defraud. I hate to be defrauded, but I speak by this of permission and not commandment. Paul's saying this is how it should be. He's not saying this is the law. He's saying this is what works in the marriage. This is just great advice. It's saying this is a basic principle, and if you understand this principle, you're going to be the better off in your marriage. That's what he's saying. So friends, I want you to hearken, look at the marriage, look at what's working, look at what's not working. Marriages can be fixed by acknowledging the problem and bringing the problem unto God, by seeking Him and finding healing. And friends, again, if we find out that something took place early on and that has tainted one of the partners, how they view intimacy, once you fix that, you fix the problem. You really do. But it takes time. It's not like, oh, okay, we talked about this. Are we good to go? Really? Come on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what happened to that person is traumatizing. It must be traumatizing for them to not desire you, because you're like, man, I'm it. I'm the alpha male. You know what I'm saying? You don't realize when I do what I do, I'm good. And I know that, okay? And so for someone to keep their hands off you, there has to be something else going on. Something may have taken place in the past that wasn't good, or you are not showing love or meeting that person's needs. Friends, see, everybody has different needs. And I've learned the best marriages, okay, and I'm not talking about sex, but I'm talking about there's different things that men need and different things that women need. And when we kind of figure those things out and we meet those needs, when we come together, it's good. It really, really is good. There's emotional, there's mental, there's the stresses of, again, finances. There's all these different things that are taking place. And again, the whole time, the advertising genius, Satan, is working against you. He's trying to get your spouse to worry about bills. He's trying to get you focused on this over here. He's trying to get you to focus on the minors and not the majors. He doesn't want you looking at how many years you've been married, that you love your wife, you have a wonderful family, a wonderful job, all the different things that are good. He wants you to focus on the here and now, and my needs aren't being met, and I'm justified in looking at garbage or thinking about my neighbor or thinking about the secretary or doing this or doing that. And here's the thing, it's just a tactic, it's a trick of Satan. Don't be led down this road. Satan would like to take you down this road, because once you go down that road and you continue going down that road, you never come back. There's some men that go down this road and they never come back, and they lose everything. And I'm telling you, I just don't want that to take place in your life, okay? Have an understanding heart, and remember, on your knees is where you are the strongest. This is Matt, late night in the man cave, saying, boom, double shakalaka, fist bump to you. See you tomorrow.